Hello and welcome to Smiling Souls. This is Stephanie Keenan Ray and Wendy T. What's going on?
Hey, well, doing laundry because I ran out of pants.
Mm-hmm. That's always a good thing. Always important to do your laundry.
Do your laundry. You miss a week and you think I'll be fine. No,
No.
I am wearing pants, just to be clear. I do have pants on.
Good luck. I'm glad that you have pants on.
Thank you.
Proud of you today, Wendy.
Do you say you're proud of me?
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you. I'll accept that. I'm receiving it. Well,
Excellent.
and I am pretty excited about our guest. But I'm wondering, what's going on with you, Steph?
It's been a day of cleaning the house and I don't know, just getting rid of the cobwebs and all the dust and debris and cat fur, and everything. And while I was making the bed, the cat tried 3 different times to attempt to get back on the bed. And then when I was dusting and I was cleaning underneath something, so I was literally on my hands and knees cleaning something. And
Right.
the cat was like, "Hey, can I help you?" I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, she does not get this involved ever. 9 times out of 10, she's just sleeping somewhere in the house. And today she's like, "Hey, purr, purr, purr. I want to be up in your business and I'm going to help you with what you're doing." And I was like,
Oh,
"Can you sit over there?" So I literally put her on my dressing table stool and she sat there and watched.
really?
She did. And then once the bed was made, she was like, "Okay, I'm going to my spot." And went,
I mean, it sounds like she just wanted to supervise.
yeah, clearly. It's what she does best.
Cats, I get it.
Yeah.
Girl.
So yeah, just entertaining morning on my end. Yeah, other than that, doing okay.
Awesome. Glad to hear
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Uh,
Do you want to pull your oracle card
oh, are
and
we doing the Oracle card? Okay.
yeah,
All right.
let's do our
Yeah,
oracle
yeah.
cards.
Yeah.
And we have Marni Blank with us here. She is going to be introduced officially in a minute, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe Wendy's also going to pull an oracle card for her. But what's your oracle
Yep.
card that you pulled this morning?
Mine. I love this. Profusion of color. I
Ooh.
know. They have the best cards. Align your thoughts with success. So that's what I got. And so the description, I probably should have had this ready. Attitude and beliefs are as important as actions in achieving success. You shape your reality through your responses and mindset. It can feel like one minor happenstance could derail or put you back on track. Try not to let the greater journey overwhelm you. Affirm the reality of what you are creating. Believe in your success and support it through your internal and external dialogue. It can be easy to worry about setbacks, but they are part of the process. Change worry into anticipation so you're prepared when challenges arise. Avoid exaggerating or dramatizing obstacles. See them as an essential part of your progress rather than dead ends. Subtly and consistently align your thoughts with what you want to achieve. If it is love you are longing for, become more loving toward yourself. Act lovingly toward others and don't allow someone else's issues to become part of your story. Aligning your beliefs and attitude with your desired outcome will magnify the beauty, success, love, and abundance you seek. Purple orchids signify respect, dignity, and admiration for the recipient. Just as the gift of an orchid can shift your feelings, allow positive thoughts to redirect your attitude. The yellow light in the image may refer to your solar plexus and balancing personal power.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Love that. So I pulled my Archangel cards, and this is Victory with Sandalphon.
Yep.
And it says, "Your prayers have been, sorry, your prayers have been heard and answered. Have faith. You deserve this time of victory. Your unwavering focus and dedication have resulted in blissful manifestation. Peace and pleasant feelings are yours right now. Let your focus be on the present moment and savor each feeling and experience fully. Know that the future is taken care of in a positive way as you allow yourself to enjoy the present moment. Feel good about who you are and know that your success benefits others. Working with Archangel Sandalphon. Sandalphon is one of two archangels who were mortal men, who lived such remarkable spiritual lives that they ascended into archangeldom. The other is Metatron. Sandalphon can help your life be a masterpiece as well. Ask him to help you live in integrity with your spiritual gifts of prophecy, healing, and manifestation fully awakened. Sandalphon can help you speak your truth openly in a way that's beneficial to everyone. He'll also help you appreciate all the miracles and victories of every size in your life.
That is very cool. And they
That
kind
is
of are
cool.
similar. Like,
Yeah. Well, when you lifted up your card, I was like, color wise, but you even got that color thing connection. You know, yours is more plummy purple, but
wait,
yeah.
let's hold them both up at the same time. Oh my gosh. That's great. And now I get to pull Marnie's card.
Yeah.
And so I'll just shuffle and you tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay. This one or the bottom?
The top one.
Okay. Oh, this is a beautiful one.
Ooh.
Your body talks to you. Listen to the story of your your physical self is sharing. Okay. So that is number 8. And your body constantly communicates with you. When you are in mental, spiritual, and physical balance, your body expresses full health. Through the demands and changes of life, you may fall out of harmony with your physical nature. Your body will help you restore balance by communicating with you. When you feel fatigued, cannot concentrate, or crave particular foods, listen to your body. It wants to let you know what you need to rebalance. When you pay attention to your body, you can discover how to achieve a healthy equilibrium and improve your life. You may need to slow down, eat more nutritious meals, seek medical support, or get some rest. Honor your physical well-being, and it will support your mental and spiritual needs. Celebrate your physical needs by turning meals and relaxation into times of renewal and healing. A beautiful woman dances the hula. Imbibe the color of this image or emulate the position of her hands as you seek restorative peace within. You might sense the healing energy that emanates from her hands and crown. That's one of my favorite cards.
I love that card. It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
It's just
and I very much relate to it.
really. So that is the card that you were meant to have today.
I was meant to have it. I love that.
Yeah.
What a nice way to start this.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey, everybody. Are you running a business and need a little extra support? Well, Kay Page Engel is an online business manager, an OBM, who specializes in influencer support, strategy, and monetization. Paige helps business owners, entrepreneurs, and content creators streamline operations and focus on growth. From managing the day-to-day to big picture strategy, Kay Page Engel ensures every aspect of the business is covered so clients can scale with ease. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Well, just visit www.pageengel.com for more details. That is www.pageengele.com. And Steph?
She's the best. She seriously has helped us in so many ways, and she is so wonderful.
She's one of those heart-centered people. And like, we didn't know what we didn't know going into this. And boy, she has really helped guide us and focus us so that we are still having fun, but we're also doing the things.
Yeah, absolutely. She's been wonderful. And we cannot encourage you more to go talk to Paige.
Yep. Visit her page. Visit Paige's page.
So should we tell people how they can get creative and change up their Mondays?
Yes.
So I created this really cool creative network called Natural Beauties Arts and Ideas Creative Network. And we do these creative sanctuary sessions every second and fourth Monday of the month. And they're super fun. What do you think about them? Because I know you've been to a few.
Oh, I've been to a few, and I have to tell you, when you told me about this the first time, I was like, oh, Mondays. I don't like to schedule anything on Mondays because I just like to flow into my week and not have anything on the calendar. And then I was like, you know what? It's Stephanie. I'm gonna pop in and just see what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I did, because joke's on me. I was able to pick up an old sketch pad that I've had for a year, not touched, and some watercolors. And I was able to just sit there and play. And it was fun. And it released a lot of the nervousness and anxiety that I was experiencing over, okay, it's a new week and I got to do this and I got to da 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 da.
Yeah.
And I was just able to release all that. And I had fun and I created. So when you said sanctuary, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, is just engaging that right side of your brain, that creative side, where we can, in doing so, it brings joy and happiness and innovation. And ultimately that energy flows over into our business, into our personal lives. And, it just makes us happier and more efficient, and like our problem solving skills actually get better. Like all sorts of things improve. It's so cool.
Totally.
So I'd love to have you join us on a creative session, second and fourth Mondays of the month, noontime Eastern Standard Time. And the website that you can go to check it out is my link tree. So linktr.ee/natural_beauties. And that will get you there. You can check it out. You can register and learn more about it. Hope to see you there.
Yay. Right. And what a great entrance to introduce our guest today. Our guest is Marni Blank, and she is the founder of Begin with the End. Her services are curated to empower individuals and families to prepare for logistical and emotional aspects of death, dying, and grief. This can include accountability in completing end-of-life decisions and documents, facilitating family conversations, and getting one's important documents and digital life organized. She also offers in-person death doula services. You heard that right, death doula services for those closer to the end of life. For families in grief, she offers after loss support to help overwhelmed executors and families navigate the paperwork and logistics to settle the estate. She comes to this field with a law degree, as a trained mediator, a death doula, and certified after loss professional. So welcome to Smiling Souls, Marni Blank.
Thank you for having me, both of you.
Yeah, of course. We're so happy you're here. And so for those of you that don't know what a death doula is, what is that? What does that mean? What do you do? How did you get into this?
Yeah, so a death doula or end-of-life doula, they're sort of used interchangeably, is a non-medical professional who helps with the emotional, the practical, and the spiritual aspects of death, dying, and grief. You may not have heard of it yet, but as soon as you do, you'll end up hearing more about it in the news. Especially since COVID, this has been something that has been at the forefront of everyone's minds, especially in a space of grief. The whole world has been in grief, sort of, not just from COVID, but, there is a lot of grief all around us. And how can we be supporting people through that? How I got into it is a little roundabout way. I was a lawyer in my previous life. I then started a business with my sister, and I had been running that and was very happy doing that. And I was at a work event, and I got a random call from a Massachusetts number, and it was a hospital telling me that my mom had been in a freak car accident, and I'm in New York. And so, I got this news, and the first thing I thought, other than is she okay, was, oh my gosh, I have a lot of her paperwork that she had given me on my desk. And some of it I was supposed to get signed and notarized, and I had not done it. And I'm smart, I'm organized, I know how important these things are. And there had been a mental block around dealing with paperwork that had to do with my mom's death or incapacity. And so I hadn't done it. And so before I could get to the hospital, I had to scramble and get these things taken care of. And that's not the time that one should be figuring out what they need to be doing. And so I will skip ahead that my mom ended up being okay. But in the ensuing months of dealing with getting her into a rehabilitation center, for being an out-of-state child with a full-time job, as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to just pick up and move and be somewhere. Right. Dealing with pets, talk about cats. My mom had gotten a kitten the week before this happened, and she had a dog. So then moving them back to Brooklyn. All of these things were just incredibly overwhelming, and I wish that I had had some sort of support to guide me through this process. And when you are just dealing with paperwork and logistics and figuring everything out, it's really hard to just be present with the person who is either very sick or dying. And you can't really feel your feelings or feel that grief or whatever is coming up. And vice versa, if you're just stuck in those feelings and feeling all those things, it's really hard to be doing logistics. And so I felt like, how could I end up being a support for other people the way that I wanted to be supported in that moment? And so in 2020, as the world shut down, I decided that I wanted to take training to become an end-of-life doula, and really explore what that meant, and really understand the conversations that I hadn't had within my family and that I should have been having within my family. And then, thinking about just my community in general. I'm of an age where all of my friends' parents are aging, or we have just aging relatives, right. Or we're having children and need to be really thinking about our own planning. And that's sort of where I got started on this journey.
Oh, wow. Awesome. That's so very similar to my journey, right? What I went through with my mom, I'm like, I don't want anybody else to have to go through this. And that's why a lot of us do what we do, right? We're heart-centered. We want to help others. We want to make things better so that no one else has to go through what we went through. And Marnie, you mentioned wishing that you had the support that you now give to others. And let me go back to when your mom had this accident and you were going and doing all the things, and you had the mental block, and I want to be with my mom, and then I got the dog and the cat, and I got the paperwork. So one of the things we talk about here is shifting mindset, self-care, having more joy. And so I'm just curious, as you were going through that, and even now, just in general, do you have some rituals around self-care? And would you share those with us?
Yeah, it's a really great question. To your point, when you're in the middle of it, it's really hard to stop and be like, oh, how am I doing in this moment? I'm focused on everyone else, or making sure that things are being taken care of. But what is going on internally? Or am I, caring for the life that I have created also? And so a big thing that has helped me throughout, speaking of that card that you pulled for me, is moving my body. A lot of times, whether it was me needing support, it would be a walk and talk where I'm on the phone, and with my earbuds in, taking a walk outside. I have a dog too. And so how can I be getting out, getting that fresh air and connecting with someone else? But likewise, when I'm working with someone now who's going through something whether they're in crisis or they're just having a moment. Oftentimes I find that when we're trying to have some of these difficult conversations, looking eye to eye with someone can be challenging. And that sometimes when we're walking side by side with clients or whether we're on the phone, sometimes people are able to open up in different ways and be able to release things that otherwise maybe it's just a little harder depending on someone's vulnerability or where they are in their journey of processing emotions. So moving my body for me is something what I would consider a ritual. I do have, I have some stones and I have like a little altar with some of my family photos on them from my ancestors that I love to look at in the morning with my cup of coffee, and just taking kind of a moment of pause before the day begins where I can just be like, oh, I'm drinking out of my favorite teacup, which I never did before COVID, and since I always now use my favorite expensive, mug that I otherwise would have just kept in the. So, how can I make like little moments and pockets of joy? And I also get myself flowers every week, which is a little something special I do for myself.
Yeah.
Steph, you were just talking about this like this week. You don't remember this? You said, when you're putting your moisturizer or whatever on.
Oh yeah, the mini. Yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about the flower thing because I like to do that, and now my husband has actually started doing it for me. Like if he goes to Trader Joe's, he'll just grab some pretty flowers if we don't already have some flowers. So it's kind
Exactly. Trader Joe's. Exactly.
the best.
You don't have to spend a lot of money. You could spend $6, $7 and just have something very joyful to look at, throughout the day.
It just brightens up the house.
Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, I love to talk about having mini self-care rituals because when you're in it, it's so hard to give yourself that time and that space. So like as an esthetician, I'll tell people like when you're washing your face, rather than just scrubbing and going, take those 2 seconds to like inhale the aromas of your lotion or your oils. And, when you're washing your face, just take a few minutes to just be grateful for the time to take care of yourself. And just, like for me, a lot of times my moisturizers are just an oil that's good for the skin with some essential oils in it. So I, take a few seconds and inhale that and just, take that few seconds for myself and then boom, keep going. But if you do that a couple times a day, you've got a couple seconds of self-care and gratitude and, peace, that you didn't make time for. And you actually get better at taking those moments because even in those couple seconds, you feel a difference in your body. Like, especially with the essential oils, they work in such a way with our body that they really calm our mind or ground us or center us, depending on what's in it, So there's like the little magic potions, as my friend likes to call them. But it just helps us in little ways to find that. And then, then you start doing the things like appreciating your cup of coffee or tea and, taking those couple minutes to get your day going in a good way and, enjoying it before the rush of the day happens.
Yeah, and completely. And at the end of the day, I try to do something as well. Typically, it's just putting my feet up on the wall, kind of just like lay on the ground, whether it's on the, put my feet up on the couch or up the wall. It really helps regulate my nervous system and sort of, it just puts me in a different state and sort of is a nice way to be like, okay, my work day is done and I'm going to go into, my evening routine and or seeing friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's so important to like have that time to shift your evening too, because I think that's the other reason why a lot of people don't sleep well is they don't take that little bit of time to calm their body, shift into nighttime. We just continually or work or whatever, and there's so many people that just keep working into the evening or they don't give themselves boundaries to take care of themselves.
Yeah, especially in my line of work where I'm talking to people about very vulnerable things, very personal things. And oftentimes, there are a lot of feelings come up, and, working through planning for the future is a gift to your loved ones. It is a gift to your future self, but it also comes with a lot of it can be fear, it can be regret, it can be, there are just a lot of blocks that come up. And so when you're taking all that in, also, it's important to have those rituals to separate both the personal life and the professional life, so that,
Yeah.
I am, an empath. Like I take on a lot internally, and how can I make sure that I'm moving my body in a way that I can both show up for them and then show up for the rest of my life after.
Yeah, absolutely. Clear that energy too. Yeah.
And I just learned something new. Like, put your feet up against a wall. And so that somehow helps with the nervous system.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, and it drains because you're during the day, you're on your feet a lot, or all your blood and all of the things are draining to your feet. So how are you sort of re-regulating and moving things back around?
Wow. Well, that's a takeaway for me, for sure. And so talking about, sorry, your work with your ancestors, specifically your grandmother is over 100 years old. Did I read
She
that?
is. She
Okay.
is. She's going to be 102 on February 4th.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh.
It's
Well,
wild. And I have on my
mm,
great aunt on my other side is 102 and a half. Also still
well,
here and still, yeah.
gosh. So longevity runs in your family. And interestingly enough, my husband's birthday is February 4th. So go figure.
Oh,
I
I
know.
love that.
Right. And so what are some of the lessons that you've learned from your 102-year-old grandmother? And you said aunt?
Mhm.
Yes, my great aunt on my other side. Yeah, they're both remarkable women, and it's been such a pleasure, especially as I got into this space, to take advantage of what I've been learning to show up for them in a different way than I would have just as someone from a different generation. So one of the things that we have done together over the years is do legacy projects, which I recommend to do with anyone. But we did several recordings on their time frame, and really captured their life story in a way that I had never heard before. And it's fascinating that when you have the family stories that you hear over and over, and it's amazing to get those on audio or video. But when you ask different questions, you sometimes get different answers, and you find out stories that you're like, I have known you for 41 years and I've never heard that before. And so it was really incredible. And, now all of the cousins in my generation and my father and my uncle, everyone has access to these. And similarly with my great aunt. And what was sort of the takeaways from these are they're very different women, but they grew up in the same time frame, obviously. And the three things that they had in common were that they both ended up with a view of nature of some way. That one was by the ocean and one was in the mountains. They both had careers or professions that were really meaningful to them. They weren't, which was ahead of their time. Growing up in the 40s and the 30s, that was traditionally more of a housewife role. But they both had very meaningful careers that they did throughout growing, raising children, and they both really highlighted that as something that brought them purpose. And then the third thing was that they both had to have dessert every day, and typically twice a day. If you look in either of their
That's
fridges,
the
there's
secret to
plenty of
looking at.
chocolate.
Nice. I love
But
that.
You had
it
dessert
wasn't.
twice a day.
I mean, at least once a day. But I'm going to go ahead on a limb and say as far as I've known them, they've both had serious sweet tooths that have lasted through today. If you go to my grandmother's house right now, you will find like 5 different types of dessert that she can choose from at any given time.
I'm going to live to over 100. I have a major sweet tooth. All right.
So great. Yeah, but they also, one of them has been, very honest with me about being afraid of what's next and not wanting to die. And the other one is very ready and has asked me questions about the process and talking to me openly. And it's been such a gift to be able to be a space for them to talk about it, because these are things that some people are open to talking about it, and many people, we live in a death phobic society. A lot of people don't want to share or are afraid to, or didn't grow up having these sort of conversations. And so it's been a pleasure to be able to show up differently with them.
That is, I love that. I love that. They both had purpose, is what I heard, right? They had meaningful careers. And so I think that's a big part of longevity. Just personally, it could be any purpose. Like my grandmother, she was a month shy of turning 99. So I'm going to say that she turned 99, right? But her purpose was she would study everything, like the newspaper, books, magazines. We always said that if she lived in a different time, she would have been a physician, right? Because she just knew everything about anything you'd ever want to know about healing. She knew. So I think purpose is a huge component to that. And so kind of in the same realm, but who has been the biggest inspiration on your journey? You talk about learning the breadth of individuals out there that are helpers. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, I mean, Wendy, you run in a lot of the same circles as me, but it's really fascinating. I live in New York. I live in a city full of people of all different walks of life. People who are living on their own at age 99 in their apartment, and newbies at NYU going to college. And obviously you can see all the restaurants, you can see all the things that people can do, but like what is behind the scenes is this huge support network of professionals within the field of end of life, of aging, of solo aging, of being able to age in place. And it's really incredible to really understand what is out there that once you understand, you can take advantage of. And so, when I started this, I didn't know that. And when I started to network and when I started to be introduced to people, there are so many amazing people who are doing this heart-centered work who are coaching people going through this caregiving struggle, which is such an important thing. There are people who are helping you age gracefully in place and, make sure that it's safe and that you have the support you need. There are, religious institutions that are putting on programming or secular programming for aging and asking these questions and being curious about getting older. It's just really incredible, the variety. There are helpers that will help take you to the opera or to the movies or to get your groceries. It just makes me feel very warm when I realize how much is out there for people, and across the country as well. That if you can have the right person to find you those resources, they're there for you.
It makes such a difference. And when you say helpers, I'm reminded of something that Fred Rogers said. Fred Rogers, right? You both got smiles on your face. There was something about when he was little, something happened. I don't know if it was a mugging or whatever. And he was scared, and his mother was with him. And she tried to comfort him. And she said, just find the helpers. Right. So the fire department, the police, good citizens that were trying to help. She said, always look for the helpers. And he said that's what comforted him throughout his entire life. And that's what he shared with others was look out there and look for the helpers.
I love that. And I love that I can now be a helper also. Right. Here's for instance, about a month ago, I live in an apartment building. There are, 29 units, and a woman, emailed the community to say, hey, does anyone have a wheelchair available for this afternoon? And I wrote back and I said, I don't have a wheelchair, but here's a company that I know who can get you one quite quickly. And she thanked me, and they got her one within a few hours. And then, about 2 weeks after that, and I said, if you ever need anything else, just reach out. She then reached out to me separately saying, my husband took a fall and he's at the hospital. We're going to need someone when we get home to help, like an in-home healthcare aide. And I said, I got you. And I communicated with her, 2 different home healthcare agencies and put her in touch. And in 48 hours, she had someone in the home to help. And then fast forward about a week and a half, I was doing laundry in the basement. This is about 2 weeks ago. And I met a woman that I didn't know, and I introduced myself, and she said that she was the daughter of this neighbor. And I said, oh, I'm Marnie. And she's like, you're Marnie. Thank you so much. And I said, is there anything that I can do? And she said, well, my father is now on hospice, but we have not figured out next steps. What happens when he dies? We don't know what to do. And I said, here's the name of the most wonderful funeral home. It might be helpful to talk about, in advance, so that when the time comes, you don't have to make, more choices. You don't have to have decision fatigue. And we ended up talking in the basement for about 30 extra minutes. And I saw when this funeral home came and helped. But the point is that it goes back to this, when you know what's within your community, you can really help people around you and make a difference. Just having someone who can help guide this process can take a lot of the weight off of having to research and having to figure it out. But I was so glad that I knew all of these things at this point. 4 years ago, I would have no idea. I couldn't have helped. I wouldn't have responded to that email, but now I'm in a position to do that.
I love that story. And you were at the right place at the right time, getting that email, responding to it. Laundry room, you were there at the right time. I don't believe there's any accidents. So I think that was
I don't either.
Divinely guided.
Yeah.
Just saying. And so in addition to being helpers, right? All of us here are helpers. This is what we do. It's our vocation, I would dare say. Along with that, knowing the right people to call, there are also other resources that you're aware of. And so first of all, tell us about your workbook. Tell us about Plan Well.
Yeah. So I created 2 workbooks because I really felt like there is a basic lack of understanding of what goes into planning for the future. And it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Just like, any other adulting tasks. It's just about how can we be organized in advance? It's sort of helpful for ourselves, and down the line, it will be helpful to understand what's going on. I don't know about you, but I keep so much information in my brain just about like living my life, like who has keys to my apartment, or who's the super, or who are my maintenance people, or, all of those things. And so the Plan Well workbook is just an organizer of all of your important information, and you can download it and you can print it out if you want to keep it in a folder of your important, documents, or ideally you're also uploading it to a digital vault somewhere that's safe and secure, where all of this important information is being kept. And what I love about it is that it sort of makes you think now about all those little pieces that you forget about. It can also just be a reminder, hey, I still have 6 subscriptions to different streaming services. Maybe I don't need all of those, right? Maybe I didn't even realize that I still had, one of them that I'm not even watching anymore. So it can sort of save you money and kind of get you aware, but also plan for the future. And so, I created that also, selfishly, because I'm like, hey, mom and dad, here's this workbook I created. Here's this organizer. Maybe you should be, checking it off your list also.
Very sly, very slick. Good
idea. But beyond that, like as we just saw with the wildfires in California, people lose everything.
Right.
It's, devastating to lose your home, to lose your contents, to lose all of those important things. The last thing you're going to do is to like, find that stack of, insurance documents or something. How are you keeping things in a way that can be easily accessible in times of an emergency? So that's one of them. And then the other one I created is based around what I consider the 7 steps of end of life planning. And end of life planning, I just want to say, is not just for the old or for the dying. It is for everyone. It's thinking about your wishes and how do you want to be remembered in advance. And if there's ever something that happens to you and someone needs to be making medical choices for you or financial choices for you, how are you guiding them and letting them know what you want? And so I created this because, oftentimes people aren't necessarily wanting to work, one-on-one with someone, but they want, they're curious. And so I created this workbook so that people can start thinking about getting a healthcare proxy and your power of attorney, but thinking about, some, deeper things like what does a good death mean to you? And, body disposition, whether you want to be buried or cremated, or there's now green options out there that are very exciting and new. So it's getting you thinking about a little more down the line.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you're like, hey, mom and dad, I wrote this. Take a look. That's brilliant.
Can you do my workbook just so I know if there's any errors or something?
Great. I love that so much. Brilliant, Marnie. Nice job. And I understand that you love all things Anderson Cooper.
Oh,
I do.
What a joy.
He's such a sweet man. And I didn't know that he was, let me get this right, Gloria Vanderbilt's son. I did not know that about him initially. So what is it that you love about Mr. Cooper?
I mean, I think his podcast on grief is just eye-opening and very vulnerable and makes it sort of accessible to everyone. Right. That this man who, came from a lot, he also very, I wouldn't say self-made because he came from a lot, but he made a name for himself and he has done incredible work. Yep. And he has suffered intense tragedy throughout his life and has buried it and has acknowledged that he sort of kept it sort of separate from his life for all of these years. And he's realizing now how important it is to acknowledge it, to really deal with it face on. And the guests he have on are just so vulnerable and impactful. And listening to people calling in and just sharing their everyday stories about what they're going through. I think it's just a reminder that, when we're walking down the street, when we are encountering someone who may not show up the way they want to, and our initial reaction is to be taken back or to respond in a way. And I just very much try, based on him and the work I do in general, is that everyone is going through something in their lives, whether you can see it physically or not, whether you know them or you don't. And his podcast really is just like a weekly reminder of that for me, that people of all walks of life are struggling, but how can we feel more connected by talking about it?
Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I like that. And I also kind of going back to the idea of getting people to plan ahead. I have a friend whose father did that, and she was like, "It's the greatest gift." Like, she's like, "It seems 100%. So morbid, but like having that mindset of like, sort of, how am I going to have the best death?" And then working backwards from that. So how do I live my life to have the best life so that when I get to death, it will be beautiful, right? And it is a gift to the family, because then the family isn't doing all the chaotic things of running around and figuring.
You're totally right.
Fighting, like all of it,
When you're leaving a clear path, you're allowing for those family dynamics not to take a toll after. Because, when there's confusion, when there's lack of instruction, it can really cause infighting within families.
Yeah.
But I think the more important point there was that, yes, the idea of planning ahead is so you can live a freer life now, that you can just live your best life
Right.
knowing that you have planned for the future.
Mhm.
You can feel lighter when you've started to have these thought experiments of like, well, yes, if I want to get to here, am I on that path? Do I need
Right.
to change course? Like,
Mhm.
one writing exercise I do with a lot of my clients is write your obituary. Like, what did
Oh,
you
wow.
do in your life? Like, Marnie wrote a memoir that was a bestseller, whatever it is. And then you're
Mhm.
like, okay, if that is actually what I want to be doing,
Yep.
how am I living my life now to steer the course in that way? It gives you a lot of power.
Mhm.
Or just like, I want to be remembered by being a good friend. Okay, let's take inventory. Am I showing up the way I want to be showing up? Are there ways
Yeah.
that I can be doing things differently? So it
Mhm.
really gives you that empowerment to live the life that you want to be living.
Wow. When you said write your own obituary, I probably had a visceral reaction. And it makes sense, right? Because when you can, I did kind of a similar thing with my clients. I asked them to write a letter to their future selves, right? We're going to work together for 6 months. What is 6 months from now? What are you going to look like? Write a letter to that future self so you can get that in your sights. Oh, that's what I want to be. That's who I want to be. That's who I need to become in that time. I need to focus on that because what we know is what we focus on grows, right? And it's kind of the same concept with what you're doing, Marnie. So I had a reaction to it, but at the same time, it's brilliant.
It is very similar. It's writing things as if they're already done so that you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
as if
okay. Yeah. It
100%.
allows you to dream big in a way.
Mhm.
I love that. Dream big. So what I have learned today is look for the helpers,
Mhm.
right? Look for the helpers and put my feet up at night to help me relax. I mean, seriously, that's a big one. I didn't think of that, but it makes so much sense. I'm going to try it tonight. How about you, Steph? What's coming up for you?
Well, I just think that that there are people that help us in all stages of
Yeah,
whatever we're going through. So yeah, knowing, even if you didn't know that a death doula was a thing, but
well, you know.
now you know. But that there are always someone to help and you just have to actually ask and receive. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And especially I do like, so I've met a couple death doulas. It's been funny. Lately I just feel like I keep being like tapped like, oh, death doula, oh, death doula, oh, ads for death doulas, like becoming one or whatever. And I'm like, this is interesting. But I like that you have that law side of you too. So you could help with the financial end in a proper way, not just advice. And I feel like that just takes it to a whole new level of like super support where you're not just a helper, you're somebody who really makes sure the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and everything's good. So yeah, pleasure to hear about all the things you do and the beauty of how you do it. I think that's been great.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Marnie is not just a helper, she's a super helper. Do you have a cape?
Yes.
You might want to consider
You're a
getting
helper.
it. Yeah. Ta-da! Haha. Super helper. Um, well, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you and learn more about you and what you do and offer and all the things. So thank you, Marnie, for being our guest. And in the show notes, you will find all of the ways to get in touch with Marnie, to find her workbook. So definitely check that out.
And I know you said you work with people locally, but you
Mhm.
also work virtually, like with people all over, right?
I do. So I do a lot of end of life and legacy planning virtually across the country,
Mhm.
as well as, helping families after a loss. I do that virtually, and then I offer in-home support in New York City and Brooklyn.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, so we will share all the ways for people to connect with you and learn more.
Well, thank you for creating such a warm space to talk about these things, and I love the pulling of the card. It's what a great way to start something off.
Yeah.
So much. We're receiving that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, I hope everybody has a wonderful day and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.